Bolu Ajiboye, a native of Kenya, migrated with his parent, older brother, younger sister at the tender age of 5 to America. Bolu had parents who were deeply invested in their children's education. Upon completing his higher education, Bolu earned his doctorate degree from Case Western Reserve. He is now a prominent biomedical engineer in Cleveland, Ohio. Here is a statement from one of Bolu's patients with a severe spinal cord injury. He is pretty much paralyzed from the shoulder down.
I remember up to the accident, and then after that I remember bits and pieces. I was on a 150-mile bicycle ride. It was raining really badly. I was following a mail truck, and I was keeping my distance pretty good. But then it stopped to deliver a package. I ran right into the back of the mail truck. It's possible to reconnect the brain and make the arm move again.
There is room for significant growth. We are just at the forefront of really understanding how the brain functions, how to take advantage of our knowledge, and could see exponential growth.
Yes, I'm injured, but it's not like my life stopped when I got injured. It's going to help out a lot more people for years to come.
Without any further delay, I would like to introduce to you Bolu Ajiboye. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the interview with Bolu. Before I start, my good friend, thank you for allowing me to interview you. It's been, 3 years since we actually got together?
It's been 3 years, and I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you about the work that I do.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, before we jump into question, if you can elaborate to the audience, what is it exactly a biomedical engineer does?
Sure. So as a biomedical engineer, what I try to do is understand the human body, and specifically the systems of the human body. So we can think of the cardiovascular system, or the nervous system, or the skeletal system, or the muscular system. All these systems work together to allow us to function normally and in good health. Sometimes, though, the body will undergo injury, whether that be neurological injury, disease, things that impact its normal function. And as a biomedical engineer, my job and my role is to understand the body under normal conditions, but then also what happens when there's disease or injury. Furthermore, what I try to do then is design interventions, usually in the form of medical technology, to help cure or intercede so that we can restore normal function after an injury.
Okay. So now that you gave us that clarification, let's say an individual has an accident and then they're paralyzed from the shoulder down. Explain to them, how does your brilliant technology help this person have a quality of life after an injury?
Sure. So my specific area of biomedical engineering is called neural engineering, and we work to understand and intercede in the nervous system. We want to understand the language of the nervous system. So this includes the brain, the spinal cord, the muscles, and the nerves. So in the case of somebody who has an intact nervous system, such as you and I, whenever we want to move, the brain sends a signal through your spinal cord to your muscles and nerves to allow us to move and also to feel when we interact with objects.
Right.
When somebody has a spinal cord injury, there's trauma to the spinal cord, and that signal cannot traverse from the brain down to the peripheral muscles and nerves.
Correct.
And so what we want to do is develop medical technology to help restore both the ability to move after paralysis and also the ability to feel when you're touching something. The way we do this is we use two technologies. So the first is called functional electrical stimulation, or FES.
And what does that do?
And FES essentially consists of electrodes, which are basically small pieces of technology which are implanted inside the paralyzed limb. So it can be implanted inside the muscle or implanted around the nerves of the arm. And by applying small amounts of electrical stimulation or current to the muscles and nerves, we can actually reanimate the paralyzed limb.
So in other words, have the limb
limb move, right? So somebody who was once paralyzed, their arm can now be reanimated such that they can reach out, grasp, let's say, a cup of coffee and bring it
Okay.
back to their face.
Amazing, amazing.
This technology, FES, functional electrical stimulation technology, also can be used to help people who have lower limb paralysis, so paralysis of the legs, to be able to stand up, to be able to take steps, and be able to walk.
Wow.
And so the technology itself has actually been around for 30 or 40 years, developed at the Lewis Stokes Cleveland VA Medical Center and Case Western Reserve University. So that's the first technology, FES, for reanimating the limb.
That's for the muscle.
For the muscles and nerves,
Yes,
correct.
and the second technology?
The second technology, and what my laboratory specifically focuses on, is what's called brain-machine interfacing, or BMI technology.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll hear this called brain-computer interface, or BCI technology. But essentially, it's electrodes which are implanted inside the brain.
Wow.
And then using this technology, we can record the electrical activity of the brain and then decipher or discern what movements the person wants to make.
So in other words, the brain is communicating now with the body.
Correct. So if you remember again, with a spinal cord injury, the brain wants to communicate with the muscles and nerves through the spinal cord.
But there's a
Prior to
disconnection.
the spine, but there's a disconnection.
That's right.
And so we are essentially circumventing this disconnection, bypassing the spinal injury, by reading the activity in the brain using this BMI technology. We decipher the patterns of the brain activity into a desired movement using different algorithms, machine learning, artificial intelligence, algorithms to help us understand the pattern of brain activity. And then once we've determined the intended movement of the individual, we can then stimulate the arms using FES technology to reanimate the limbs, such that a person who was once paralyzed can now think about moving, and then their arm and hand will respond in the way that they are moving.
So the technology is connecting the brain back.
We are reconnecting the hand and arm back to the brain.
Amazing,
correct.
amazing.
And that's only half the story. So, I've just talked about the ability to reanimate movement. But movement is not, but
Can you elaborate to them in detail? What does reanimating the
sure.
movement?
So by reanimating movement, what I mean is that, again, a person who was once paralyzed can now think about moving, and their arm and hand will be stimulated and move in the way that they are intending.
Wow, that's
But
amazing.
But that's only half the story, because movement is not just movement in of itself. There's also touch, what we call sensation.
Sensation.
And oftentimes when people are paralyzed, they also lose the ability to feel touch as well. So using the same BMI technology, electrodes implanted inside the brain, we can also restore a sense of touch.
Wow.
We can apply small amounts of electrical stimulation into specific parts of the brain, specifically a part of the brain called the sensory cortex. And when we stimulate the sensory cortex, people perceive that they are being touched even when they're actually not.
Wow.
And so by doing this, we can again circumvent the spinal injury and give somebody who is paralyzed not just the ability to move, but also the ability to feel touch by directly stimulating their brain.
Wow. So they could reconnect with their loved one
Absolutely.
with just a gentle touch.
Touch is critically important to not
Amazing.
just everyday function, but also
Yeah.
the human connection.
Yes.
And so by being able to restore both movement and a sense of touch, that perception of touch, we are hoping to address not just the physical affliction, but also the emotional, psychological afflictions that are usually part and parcel with spinal cord injury.
That's beautiful. Now, tell the viewer, you work at Case Western
Yes.
University. So are you in a teaching capacity or are you in a research capacity?
Yeah, so I'm a professor, a tenured professor at Case Western Reserve University.
Okay.
Some of my responsibilities include teaching undergraduate and graduate students, but my predominant focus is I run a laboratory doing this research where I mentor PhD level and master's level students in biomedical engineering research. I also hold administrative appointments in the provost office as well, but my predominant focus is research at the
Okay,
university.
so that's interesting. You said that. Out of your research, what are your two main focus on the research?
Right, so the main focus of my research, number one, is mentoring students towards the goals that I just described, which is really to further develop this brain interfacing technology and the FES technology to restore a function of people with paralysis. So that's the primary end goal of my work. So we do what we call basic science research, trying to understand the function of the brain. But then we also do translational research where we take what we're learning and say, how do we actually implement it in the real world outside of the laboratory? Because ultimately our goal is to make real world impact. And that's what biomedical engineers do. We strive to make a real world impact to solving critical problems of human health.
Human health, that's beautiful. Now, a parent that's looking at this interview and they're moved and touched by this, and they encourage their young adult or to look at you, what advice would you give to a person that's seeing this amazing thing that you're doing and like, hey, I want to grow up and be like Bolu? What roadmap would you give to that individual, a young person?
Well, sure. So maybe I could tell you a little bit about my personal roadmap,
Please,
and we can go
please.
from there. So, so I was fortunate to have parents who put an emphasis on education, and so from an early age, excellence in school was paramount and expected. And I had a personal passion, personal interest in the math, science, robotics, computer science, and so I was always sort of moving towards the area of medicine. At one point I thought I wanted to be a physician, but then I realized that I actually enjoyed engineering more, and so biomedical engineering was a way to bring the two together.
Okay.
So number one, I would encourage kids, parents to make excellence in education a priority. Then also give kids, students many different experiences. So I was fortunate to
broaden their experience,
broaden their horizons, broaden their
exposure.
exposure. I was fortunate to have the opportunity to shadow clinicians, engineers, scientists, early on from middle school to high school, and that also again broadened my horizons, broadened what I thought was possible. One of the challenges that I think, in particular, that minority students face is that you often don't see people who look like you in these positions, in the leadership positions, and that can sometimes be a deterrent. But I would encourage, but there are, right? And hopefully through this series, a lot of people will gain more insight and exposure. And so I would just encourage students to reach out to people that they know. They can reach out to me personally if anybody's interested in this field, and I'd be happy to do what I can to help, mentor and guide towards their specific goals.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And to sum it up, if you're a parent, I think being involved in your child's education is key.
Absolutely.
And exposing your children to different experience, like you said, it's also key. Now, as African American, would you say this field is not very penetrated by people that look like us?
Generally speaking, the sciences tend to be less. There are fewer African Americans, and women as well. But I will say that there are a number of efforts focused on addressing those challenges. So efforts at the university, efforts at other universities, and people recognize the dearth of African Americans, and people also recognize the challenges in terms of the pipeline. And so there are efforts not just at the collegiate level, but also the K through 12 level to ensure that students are well prepared to be able to get into these fields, correct.
That's amazing. Now, I have a fun question. As everybody know, I'm a producer, I'm a filmmaker. I love indie film, foreign film, Hollywood film. Can you share with us the documentary? I love documentary as well, even though I haven't made one. Can you share with us the documentary that they feature you in? What was that all about? And is it possible? Is it an archive where they can find it and see it?
For sure, yeah. So I was fortunate enough to be asked to be in a documentary called I Am Human.
I Am Human.
It was filmed in 2017 and then ultimately released in 2019. It premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York, and that was
Which is a very successful film festival.
Yes, and that was a wonderful experience to be able to have the movie premiere and then also be on stage and talk about the work.
So you attended the premiere?
Yes, attended the premiere, and then I was on stage speaking with some of the other people in the movie about the work that we do, and had an opportunity to answer audience questions. It was just a really great experience. And what the movie does is it documents the experiences of 3 individuals who have all received medical technology that's investigative. So one of the persons that was in the movie
candidate?
was our research participant, whose name is Bill Kochevar. So he was the first person we actually implanted with this technology, functional electrical stimulation, and the brain-machine interface technology to restore brain-controlled movement. He was the first person in the world ever to receive that technology.
Amazing.
And
Here in our
Cleveland,
beautiful state, Cleveland, Ohio.
At Case Western Reserve University and our partners.
Amazing.
And he had the opportunity to tell his story about why he wanted to participate in research. He had the opportunity to explain how he sustained his spinal cord injury and subsequent paralysis, but then why he wanted to participate in research. And it's just an amazing story about his path and really his desire to give back through participating in research. You know, one of the things that we tell people who participate in research is that we cannot guarantee that it will be of benefit to them. Right? Because it's investigative. But Bill Kochevar and also subsequent participants in our study, all have a selflessness about them, where they give their time, they give their energy, all towards helping us further develop the technology in the hopes that it will enhance the lives of somebody further down the road. So it's a great story. I encourage people to watch it. It's available on Amazon Prime. It's also available on Hulu.
And can you tell them the name again?
It's called I Am Human.
I Am Human.
Yes, and it was filmed right here in Cleveland.
Right here in Cleveland.
At Case Western Reserve University and the Louis Dose Cleveland VA Medical Center.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
We have a lot of wonderful things happening in our great state and our great city of Cleveland. Now, yes, Bolu is intelligent, but there's a fun side to him. Why don't you share something that we all would love to know about you that's fun?
Well, I appreciate that. When I'm not working, so I have a 14-and-a-half-year-old son who is, plays soccer. He's doing really. He's just a great kid, and so I love being a father. But when I'm not,
shout out to all the fathers.
Shout out to all the fathers. Personally, there are a number of things that I like to do for fun. I am an avid social dancer, and I've been a social dancer for over 20 years. Specifically, I dance salsa, bachata, merengue, kizomba, and a lifetime ago, it seems, I actually used to be a Latin dance instructor. So it's just something for fun. I love movement. So that's something that I do oftentimes for fun, and have an opportunity to do it now. Not as often, but still get an opportunity to do it. And there's a great social dance community here in Cleveland.
Yes. Our city's hot, everyone.
Yes.
Bolu, thank you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Marianne.
But before we close out, on production side, you did receive your PhD from Winston.
So I received my PhD from Northwestern University.
So why don't you give us a brief resume on your education background?
So I did my undergraduate degree at Duke University, graduating in 2000, and I got my bachelor's degrees in biomedical and electrical engineering, and a minor in computer science. I went to Northwestern University, where I got both my master's and my PhD in biomedical engineering. And then I joined the faculty at Case Western Reserve University in 2012.
Where you're still?
Where I'm presently employed. I've been tenured and then also made full professor at Case Western Reserve University. And then recently I was awarded the Presidential Early Career Award in Science and Engineering by President Joseph Biden. And so that was a great honor as well.
I'm sure. And we're very proud of you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Case Western in Cleveland has been really good to me. It's a great place to live, and also the medical research community has just been very vibrant. And I've been fortunate enough to be supported.
They have an excellent nursing program there.
So I've been very fortunate to be supported in my endeavors here.
Thank you so much.
My
we
pleasure,
enjoy
Marianne.
it. I hope this interview, a young person will look at it and you've inspired someone to be the next biomedical engineer.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I am pleased and happy to bring you Black Excellence. Thank you. Till next time, Marianne.